The story opens with a view of a tall, modern office building. It felt like the workday was dragging on forever. 3 more hours until freedom. She overheard some coworkers complaining that they should be able to leave early if they had to come in at 8, or at least get a nap break. She sympathized, mentally grumbling about the insane workload and the long hours that seemed worse than in other countries, offering barely any time off. Saha, a manager in Sales Division 1, admitted to herself she was completely fed up with the grind and especially her workaholic boss. She joked in her head about demanding better benefits and a nap time, even though she knew as a powerless employee, the most she could manage was slacking off for a bit. Deciding to play hooky, she settled down for a quick 10-minute nap to recharge. But the creak of a door and the sound of footsteps immediately snapped her awake. Startled, she whispered to herself, wondering who had come into the supply room. No one usually came here at this time. She panicked, realizing she had missed her chance to get up and leave without being seen. If she was caught hiding there, it would be absolutely mortifying. As the footsteps drew closer, she mentally begged them not to come her way. Then, she heard the unmistakable voice of her boss, Mr. Hong, telling someone to come in. To her surprise, he wasn't alone. He was with Ms. Kim Yuri, the leader of Sales Division 2. The rumors about the two of them dating immediately popped into Saha's mind. They were a perfect power couple, tall, attractive, successful, and they had even joined the company at the same time. A memory flashed into her head. A past conversation with a colleague about the supply room being a hot spot for office couples because it was tucked away in an isolated corner. Her colleague had warned her that she might end up learning things about her co-workers' private lives that she didn't want to know. Saha realized with a jolt of horror that this was exactly what might be happening now. She'd let her guard down because it was still daylight. Suddenly, the conversation shifted. From her hiding spot, Saha thought Miss Kim didn't seem like she was about to start an intimate moment. In fact, it sounded like Miss Kim was struggling to say something serious. Saha thought to herself that she must be about to dump Mr. Hong. Preparing herself for some drama, she decided this was a better show than any nap. Then, Ms. Kim's next words dropped like a bombshell. She asked Mr. Hong if he would like to go out with her. Saha was stunned. The rumors weren't even true yet. Now the tension was different. Today might be the day the rumors became reality. Saha's anticipation was cut short when Mr. Hong rejected Miss Kim. He calmly explained that he liked someone else. Saha was completely shocked that AI sales machine Hong Isaac had feelings for anyone, let alone was rejecting the company's idol. Ms. Kim accepted the rejection awkwardly, wanting them to stay on good terms as co-workers. Saha silently rooted for Ms. Kim, thinking of Mr. Hong as a cold-blooded robot. Ms. Kim left quickly, and the room went quiet. Saha was wide awake now and planned to wait until Mr. Hong left so she could sneak back to the office a minute or two later. But Mr. Hong hadn't left. He was standing right there, asking her what she was doing. Startled, she tumbled out of her hiding spot. He asked her to explain herself, clearly doubting she was getting any work done in the supply room. She desperately tried to come up with a flimsy excuse, stammering that the copy machine had run out of paper. He pointed out that she could have just borrowed paper from the other division. She mumbled an apology, admitting she hadn't thought of that. Mr. Hong sighed and let it slide, offering to help her up. As he took her hand, he told her not to tell anyone about what she had witnessed. He then threatened to affect her performance review if he caught her spreading rumors, using the fact that her presence in the supply room proved she was slacking off and violating his privacy. Saha was shocked by the blatant threat, but resigned herself to silence. She attempted to negotiate her own silence, asking him not to tell anyone that he had seen her there. As she tried to leave, her heel suddenly snapped. She slipped, and Mr. Hong yelled her name as he lunged to catch her. She crashed against him, thinking she'd cracked her skull. She realized they were now in a tight embrace. As she felt a hard object underneath her, he let out a low, involuntary sound. Confused, she asked what was wrong. She squirmed, feeling the hard pressure beneath her bottom. Mr. Hong groaned, telling her to stop grinding her butt on him. She gasped in shock as she realized what was happening. Saha was instantly mortified and scrambled backward, letting out a small shriek of surprise and embarrassment. She frantically apologized, saying she hadn't been paying attention. Quickly, he put his hand over her mouth, hushing her and telling her to keep her voice down. He was flushed and agitated, worried that someone might walk in and see them in such a compromising position. Saha nodded, her eyes wide with shock. Thankfully, no one else seemed to be around. Mr. Hong lowered his hand, telling her to head back to the office first, explaining he would leave after she did. Confused but relieved, she agreed and hurried out, saying a quick farewell. She sprinted away, rushing to put distance between them. After what just happened, she wondered how on earth she was supposed to look him in the eye again. Later that night, Saha was at dinner with her college friends. It had been months since they had all hung out, having struggled to squeeze in the dinner on a weekday because everyone was so busy. Now they were all so exhausted from work that they needed their weekends purely for rest. Her friends noted that Saha seemed distracted. Something definitely had happened. She admitted internally, something that had kept her mind occupied all evening. The memory of Mr. Hong's terse, sensual command echoed in her mind. "Quit grinding your butt on my crotch." There was no going back after that moment. She squeezed her beer glass, the memory making her shiver with an unexpected thrill. It wasn't just the sheer awkwardness, it was the realization of the man beneath the suit. She had felt the size of his arousal right beneath her. The image of a grade-A farmer holding up a massive vegetable with a wink popped into her head, a ridiculous hormonal fantasy triggered by the incident. She muttered that she hadn't known he was that huge. One of her friends snapped her out of her stupor, telling her to wipe that creepy grin off her face. Saha realized she had been caught lost in her thoughts and immediately apologized. She couldn't tell them the whole story, though, especially since Mr. Hong had threatened her job if she talked about what she saw with Miss Kim Yuri. She briefly considered that he only told her to keep quiet about Miss Kim. Technically, she could tell them about the rest of the incident, right? She decided to tell them just a little bit. She cleared her throat and brought up the division leader she always complained about. Her friend Jin Ah immediately asked if the workaholic had chewed her out again. Saha flinched, saying, "Not exactly." She started to explain that they had run into each other in the supply room when her friend cut her off. Another friend, remembering the warning about office romance, immediately jumped to the conclusion that Saha was dating someone from work. Saha was stunned by the accusation. Her friends launched into a horrified lecture, reminding her of another friend's disastrous office fling. They warned her never to date a coworker, saying it was the absolute worst decision, as there was nothing good about it. Even after a fight or a breakup, she would still have to see their face every day. This kind of drama would make the couple the main topic of office gossip until one of them quit. The conversation quickly devolved into one of her friends raging about her own petty ex-boyfriend. Saha felt guilty, as if she was getting bad karma for considering exactly what her friends were warning her against. Jinnah, however, calmed the group and looked at Saha with a knowing smile, asking if something was really going on between her and the division leader. She reminded Saha of how much she used to complain about his nitpicky nature and the mountain of work he dumped on her. Jinnah directly asked if Saha liked him now. Saha denied that she was going that far. The entire incident with Mr. Hong didn't make it sound like a big deal when she thought about it. After their encounter, Mr. Hong had immediately gone back into work mode, asking for the buyer list, acting like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Saha had been unable to stop stealing glances at him throughout the rest of the day, bothered by the memory. She felt like she had a one-sided crush, though she realized he had seemed subtly different from his usual cold self. That night, after returning home, Saha collapsed onto her bed. She was tired and regretted making weeknight dinner plans. Lying in bed, her friend's questions echoed in her mind. Is something going on between you and the division leader? Do you like him now? She was frustrated with herself, wondering why she couldn't stop thinking about him after all the trash she had talked. She was certain that the small incident in the supply room hadn't changed how she felt about him. Yet, she couldn't get him out of her head. She kept thinking about the moment she was sitting on top of him. She felt if she could just touch him one more time, she would know the answer to why he was so distracting. She recalled that his hands had been gentler than she expected, his chest broad and his thighs firm enough to support her weight without any strain. A sensual fantasy played in her mind, wondering what it would feel like to climb on top of him for real. She suddenly pulled back, chastising herself for what she was doing to her pillow in the middle of the night. She concluded that it wasn't Mr. Hong she liked. She simply liked his body. She finally understood her obsession. She just wanted to take that massive arousal for a spin. Meanwhile, Hong Isaac was finally leaving the office after working late. The next day, Saha trudged into the office, exhausted, barely muttering a good morning to her coworker. She explained that she hadn't gotten much sleep and was suffering from a hangover, making her feel doubly fatigued. She fumbled through her bag for her hangover drink. Suddenly, she stopped as Mr. Hong entered. She mumbled a tired greeting, thinking internally that it was a terrible morning, all because he was the reason she couldn't sleep. She found his perfect 24/7 demeanor, especially in the early morning, incredibly annoying. She watched him chat with a colleague, noting that his hair was perfectly styled and his muscles strained against his shirt. She took a swig of her hangover drink, admiring the nice view of his physique until she nearly choked. She realized she was staring at him again. She couldn't help it. Her eyes kept wandering. She found herself subconsciously attempting to size him up, concluding that her instincts were screaming that his package was truly different from any other she had observed. She intensely desired to unwrap that package just once. All she wanted was a single taste. She speculated that, judging by his muscular body, he must work out and should therefore have good stamina. She laughed internally, wondering if he had some strange kink, but dismissed the thought. At that moment, she was jolted out of her thoughts by her coworker shouting her name. Mr. Hong had been striding towards her, tapping his finger on her desk. Saha nervously agreed to talk, wondering what she had done wrong this time. To her confusion, Mr. Hong led her past the meeting rooms and all the way to a remote corner on the rooftop. She immediately trembled, realizing this wasn't about work. The only non-work topic they shared was what had happened in the supply room yesterday. She wondered why he was breaking their agreement to keep quiet. A horrifying thought occurred to her. Had he overheard her talking to her friends at the bar last night? She quickly reassured herself that they had picked a bar far from work, but even then, she remembered stopping herself before she could reveal anything important. Mr. Hong's intense glare made her stutter, asking if she had said something, thinking she might have accidentally spoken her thoughts out loud again. She became frantic, believing her annual performance review was now doomed. Mr. Hong calmly told her not to worry about her performance review, as long as she hadn't actually told her friends anything, and advised her to be more careful next time. However, he then ordered her to stop having those things, her wildly imaginative sexual thoughts. When she feigned ignorance, he took a step toward her. She flinched, afraid he was going to physically threaten her instead of just using her performance review. He reached out and lightly covered her eyes with his hand, saying she thought way too much. He reassured her that he wouldn't hurt her, neither her body nor her reputation. Saha was utterly bewildered, asking what he was talking about. She then stammered another apology, thinking she must have spoken her indecent thoughts out loud again. Mr. Hong grabbed her arm, his face flushed, and told her she didn't say anything, urging her to just listen. Then the shocking truth tumbled out. He told her he could hear her thoughts. He repeated it, confirming that he could hear every last one of them. Saha was dumbfounded. She told him to stop, thinking he must have lost his mind from working late too often. He knelt down, clutching his head, and revealed that he really hadn't wanted to say this out loud, but confirmed that he had heard her say she liked his body, wanted to unwrap his package, and only wanted one taste. Saha's face flushed crimson, and she let out a loud, panicked cry, frantically covering his mouth. She demanded to know if he was out of his mind, telling him to keep his voice down, pointing out that he was the one who needed to be careful. He pulled her hands away, repeating that he was only repeating her thoughts. Saha immediately demanded to know how long he had been able to hear them. She asked him in a stunned realization if he knew she was hiding in the supply room because he could hear her thoughts. Mr. Hong confessed that it had only started yesterday, right after she had sat on his crotch. After that, he said he heard every single thought she had about him, which drove him insane and made it impossible to focus on work. Saha was stunned and frustrated. Her heart pounded as she asked why he was only telling her now. She felt they could have avoided a lot of embarrassment if he had just told her right away. He retorted, slightly annoyed that he never expected his subordinate to harbor those kinds of thoughts about him. He ended the meeting by telling her to control herself now that she knew the truth, warning that otherwise he would report her to HR for sexual harassment. Saha was annoyed that he was threatening her again, arguing that it wasn't fair since he wasn't the only one at fault. She lamented that controlling her thoughts would be tough, comparing it to being told not to think about elephants. If anything, the warning would only make her thoughts wilder. Then she took a step toward him, a playful, suggestive glint in her eyes, suggesting they could look at the situation another way. If he would simply relieve the urge that was making her have all these thoughts by sleeping with her once, maybe she could finally stop thinking about it. Mr. Hong was visibly flustered by Saha's bold suggestion. She had proposed that if he relieved the intense urge for intimacy that was plaguing her and causing him to hear her thoughts, perhaps the psychic link would finally break. He stammered, asking what she meant by being intimate with him, even though she knew he understood perfectly. Her lack of shame seemed to shock him. He pulled back slightly, thinking furiously about how shameless she was, especially considering he was her boss, and they weren't even dating. She brushed off his reaction and asked if his hesitation was because of the person he had admitted to liking. She reminded him that he had used that person as the reason he rejected Ms. Kim Yuri. He quickly dismissed the idea, asserting that his personal feelings had nothing to do with the current problem. Saha shrugged, stating that if he wasn't on board there was nothing she could do, and walked a step away. She then launched into a new line of argument, challenging him to consider how he would cope if she stopped having just flustered or lewd thoughts, reminding him she also had thoughts about daily work and dinner. She pressed him, pointing out that she couldn't just disappear, and asked what if the symptoms worsened until he could hear everyone's thoughts for the rest of his life. His frustration was palpable. He couldn't argue with her logic, though he found it annoying that all her sensible points kept leading back to intimacy. Saha, internally amused and self-aware, insisted they needed to take action before his condition worsened. She proposed they give it a try for his peace of mind and, she added cheekily, for her own scientific research. Mr. Hong was aghast at her shamelessness, reminding her that they couldn't just be intimate with no evidence it would fix the problem. Saha didn't let up. She reminded him that the ability was triggered when she sat on him by accident, suggesting they try reenacting the situation step by step, like flipping a switch to turn the ability off. He conceded that her logic made sense. While he still resisted the idea of immediate intimacy, he agreed to proceed with the reenactment. He cautiously extended his hand. Saha was slightly disappointed, asking if he only wanted to try holding hands. He explained that since they didn't know the exact trigger, they should start slowly. She mocked him gently in her thoughts, calling him more of a prude than she thought. When he heard her, she simply pointed out that since he was going to hear her thoughts anyway, she might as well say it. They held hands, awkwardly testing the link. Saha immediately focused on his hand, noting his thick fingers and imagining how good it would feel if he touched her more closely. She realized with satisfaction that he had heard that last thought perfectly. Mr. Hong flushed deeply, trying to pull away and telling her to cut it out. Saha grabbed his arm, refusing to let him run away. It was time for the next step. She advanced, pressing her hands against his chest and then tracing down to his stomach and waist. His physical reactions offered no sign that the connection was breaking. She knew what came next, the grand finale. With a deep breath, she reached downward, not directly, just enough to feel his body tense through his clothes. Even that small contact made him let out a low, startled sound, somewhere between a protest and a flustered gasp. His flushed face and covered mouth were endearing, contrasting sharply with his surprisingly reactive body. She wondered aloud what he would be like in bed. He finally pushed her away, demanding she stop and questioning why she was thinking such embarrassing and inappropriate things. Saha's mood shifted, and she revealed the truth behind her intensity. She explained that if he had truly heard her thoughts, he would know the real reason. She had never experienced an actual climax of intimacy before. She recounted that her past partners were both lacking in connection and energy, leaving her deeply unsatisfied and intensely curious about the pleasure people compared to heaven or fireworks. Her unsatisfied curiosity had built up over time. Then she met him. His presence, his reactions, and yes, his overwhelming effect on her imagination were a dangerous mix. She asserted that he was partly responsible for her current state because of his undeniable physical presence. If he didn't affect her so strongly, none of this would have happened. He seemed unable to deny her claims, unwilling to hurt his pride as a man. The physical reenactment hadn't worked. He was still hearing her thoughts, confirming her immediate fantasies about kissing him. Sighing, Mr. Hong repeated that he didn't get intimate with women he wasn't dating. Saha cut him off, finally seeing the real loophole. She announced that if he wanted to stick to his principles, then they should simply date. She looked him straight in his stunned, confused face and said clearly, "I like you, Mr. Hong. Please go out with me." The intense moment lingered on the rooftop after Saha had proposed they date. Mr. Hong firmly rejected her, stating that all she really wanted was his body. Saha was shocked by his immediate refusal, arguing that he was throwing a fit even though she had tried to meet him halfway. Mr. Hong, whose mind heard all her rebellious thoughts, repeated that he had heard her, but maintained that he was simply not interested in a shallow, meaningless fling with her. Saha watched his face, wondering if he hated the idea of being with her that much. Abruptly, Mr. Hong declared the conversation over, saying they couldn't stay any longer because people might get the wrong idea. He turned and pushed her toward the door, telling her to go back downstairs and focus on her work. She landed on her knees after being shoved out, feeling a surge of anger. Left alone, she ranted internally, asking if he thought she was some villain or perverted slacker who just wanted intimacy. She yelled internally that she would be fine even if things stayed the same, and that she wasn't doing this only for her own good. She then brushed herself off and vowed that she would make him regret his actions. She promised herself that he would soon be begging her to sleep with him on his knees. The following night, Mr. Hong was tossing and turning in bed, having another vivid, sensual dream about Miss Beck. In his dream, Saha was in his bed, looking beautiful and provocative. She sat above him, her body close to his. She taunted him, pointing out that he had pushed her away and chased her off the rooftop, yet here she was. She pressed him, asking him to be honest and admit that he wanted her too, and that he wanted to sleep with her. She called him a coward and kissed him. The intimacy escalated, becoming graphic, forcing out strange sounds and quick, shallow breaths from him. She urged him to just give in and leave everything to her, promising to be good to him. His internal voice was frantic, repeating her name, Ms. Beck, and finally just Saha. The dream ended abruptly, waking him with a jolt. He sighed, realizing it was just another dream. He wondered how many times this had happened now. He felt the sticky confirmation on his sheets and was embarrassed, wondering what he was doing at his age. Several days had passed since the rooftop confrontation, and Mr. Hong was washing up, still hearing Saha's thoughts. He admitted to himself that he had acted like he had principles, but now he was suffering the consequence. He had hoped time would solve the problem, but 2 weeks later, nothing had changed. On top of that, Saha was still actively using her thoughts to provoke him. She planned to make him her slave, no matter what. Mr. Hong adjusted his glasses, lamenting that there was nothing he could do to stop the constant mental barrage. He realized she had no idea how much he was struggling. He decided he had to stop thinking about it, or he'd be late for work. He hoped that maybe the weekend had given him some peace and things might have improved. His hope was immediately dashed when he found himself stuck in the elevator with Saha and a crowd of other coworkers. He thought wryly that someone once said you can't avoid your enemy forever, and office workers always meet in the elevator. Saha's thoughts, loud and clear to him, immediately started. She complimented his three-piece suit, calling it sexy, and declared that things hadn't improved in the slightest. She asserted that he didn't understand how thirsty a woman could be, and that she wanted to eat him up from head to toe. She blamed him for making it impossible for her to hold back, even having the thought of taking him right there in the elevator. Mr. Hong was mortified, begging her internally to stop, reminding himself that he was the only one who could hear her. He was deeply flushed. Saha noticed his reaction, asking if he heard her again. She was amused by his shock at her dirty thoughts so early in the morning. When the elevator reached her floor, Saha stepped out, asking if he wasn't getting off. She said she would see him later. His heart still hammered wildly. He knew this couldn't continue. He reached out and grabbed her hand, stopping her before she could fully leave the elevator. He whispered to her to meet him in the parking lot after work so they could finally continue their conversation from before. Heavy rain was pouring down outside the office building, and Saha blamed Mr. Hong for the annoying inconvenience. His demand to meet after work had made her nervous all day, causing her to lose focus. She wondered if she had provoked him too much. To make matters worse, he had dumped a complicated, last-minute task on her in the afternoon. When she finished her work and went to check with him, she realized the office was empty. He had left before her. She was furious, suspecting he might have deliberately messed with her just to screw her over, especially since she hadn't brought an umbrella based on the forecast. Just as she stepped outside the building and looked around, Mr. Hong appeared, standing under an umbrella. He explained that he hadn't left before her. He simply thought people might notice if they left together. So he had moved his car and was waiting for her. Saha's pounding heart finally settled a bit. She was flustered, realizing she had jumped to conclusions. He told her to come with him, saying he would drive her home. She was surprised and hesitated, but he calmly reasoned that it was late and the rain would make getting home difficult. He added that since he was the one who asked to talk and gave her a last-minute task, he felt responsible. He offered to drop her off nearby if she didn't want him to know her address. Saha accepted, thanking him. They walked together under the umbrella to his car, and soon she was buckled into the passenger seat, giving him the address of a nearby station. As he entered the destination into his GPS, she glanced at his suit jacket, noticing his shoulder was damp from the rain. He immediately sensed her thought and replied that he was fine, assuring her it was just his jacket. Flustered, Saha apologized, admitting she kept forgetting that he could hear her thoughts. Mr. Hong accepted her apology, adding that although he could hear her thoughts, he knew it wasn't easy for her to control them, referencing their conversation the previous day. Saha smiled, thanking him for being so understanding. However, his mood changed instantly, and he cut her off, bluntly stating that even so, her sexual harassment was crossing the line, and she needed to refrain from having such thoughts. She gasped, realizing he could hear her dreams too. She couldn't believe he was complaining about her dreams while at work. Desperately, she asked what he had heard, panicking and asking if he could see them as well. He dismissed the question, asking if it really mattered. Of course it mattered. She covered her flushed face, feeling deep embarrassment. Mr. Hong dryly noted that she did feel shame after all, despite proposing they sleep together and constantly provoking him with her thoughts. Saha argued that her waking thoughts were filtered, unlike her dreams, which came straight from her subconscious. She conceded that even she had some things she would rather keep buried. She quickly added that her thoughts weren't that creepy, she thought. He pressed her, asking what exactly went on in her head. Saha yelled at him to stop asking, threatening that if he kept asking, she would keep thinking about it, and he would keep hearing it. She tried to distract herself by mumbling the digits of pi, but failed miserably. Mr. Hong simply stared at her, then, unable to resist, corrected her math. He was laughing silently, which only irritated her further. She jokingly threatened to hit him, but he warned her not to hit the driver. Saha retaliated by demanding that he share something about himself, asking what he liked in a woman, complaining that it was unfair that only her preferences were being exposed. She asked if he liked tall women with long hair or women who looked good in certain clothes. She repeated the suggestive question, asking him to be honest about whether he wanted her to. Suddenly, Mr. Hong slammed on the brakes, narrowly avoiding a collision at the stoplight. A nearby person jumped back, scared. He apologized quickly, saying he didn't see the light change, then immediately blamed Saha, saying he was distracted because she had said something weird. Saha was livid. She accused him of blaming her for everything: the psychic link, his annoyance, and now nearly crashing the car. She reminded him that he was the one who offered her the ride and wanted to talk, yet all he had done was interrogate and blame her. Mr. Hong squeezed the steering wheel, acknowledging in his thoughts that she was right. He admitted that he had been arguing with her instead of having the necessary discussion. He finally spoke aloud, telling her he would talk now. Saha was excited, but he cautioned her not to get too excited, stating he wouldn't discuss his preferences in women. She drooped, asking what he wanted to talk about then. He took a deep breath. The reason he asked to speak to her after work was to discuss her proposal. He asked her directly, "Will sleeping together one time really be enough to stop those thoughts?" Mr. Hong repeated Saha's earlier claim that her overwhelming, intrusive thoughts might stop if they shared a moment of intimacy just once. He then questioned whether a single time would truly be enough. The realization that he was agreeing stunned her. It felt like a personal victory, something she had finally earned, almost like achieving a long-awaited milestone. She mentally congratulated herself for managing to bring him toward what was essentially a one-time intimate encounter. Hong, still composed on the surface, asked himself whether she was fully prepared and whether she might regret it later. Saha, however, appeared far more concerned about him. He seemed old-fashioned when it came to matters of intimacy, and she privately wondered if he had been saving himself for something more traditional. Before she could finish the thought, he closed the distance and kissed her. His movement surprisingly decisive. She pushed him back immediately, realizing the place and moment weren't right for what they were heading into. The awkwardness hit him quickly. He cleared his throat, realizing he had misjudged the timing. He started searching for a nearby motel, but Saha stopped him, pointing out that they were already close to her apartment. With that, she simply told him to come with her. Later in her apartment, Saha stood drying her hair after a shower, still stunned that she had actually managed to bring him into her space. For days, she had lived with a constant sense of him lingering in her mind, an undeniable tension she could no longer ignore. Now that he was here, the anticipation coursed through her. She silently thanked whatever force had granted her this moment, until Hong unintentionally reacted to her thoughts again, revealing he had heard her excitement clearly. Fresh from his own shower, he entered the room, and Saha gestured for him to come to the bed, though her inner thoughts were far more suggestive than her actions. They sat side by side, a deliberate distance between them. Saha nudged his shoulder lightly, questioning whether he truly intended to follow through now that things had reached this point. He showed no inclination to retreat. Still, he admitted to himself that the atmosphere felt entirely different from what he had initially imagined. His mind, colored by everything he had unintentionally overheard from her, replayed the more intense fantasies she had entertained about him. Saha found amusement in his quiet struggle, realizing how deeply her thoughts had affected him. His seriousness, his willingness to match her, despite lacking the experience she might expect, stood in stark contrast to the partners she had known before. Unlike them, Hong seemed determined to meet her expectations rather than dismiss them. When she reached toward him, the slightest touch sent tension through his posture, color rising instantly to his face. She slipped off her robe and moved on to him with an eagerness she hadn't bothered to hide for days. Her anticipation had been relentless, and finally closing the distance felt like stepping into a moment she had been replaying in her mind endlessly. With her mind spiraling into the kind of wild, unfiltered fantasies she knew he could hear, she guided his hands into a restrained position, not for anything graphic, but as part of the playful, teasing control she enjoyed. She leaned in close, her expression full of confidence, ready to push him to the edge of his composure. In her mind, she had one intention. She wanted to be the one who finally made him unravel. Saha opened her eyes, breathless and disoriented, realizing she was no longer in the car. She was on a bed. Hong lay close beside her, his wrists lifted above his head, loosely restrained by a strip of fabric. He let out a low groan, telling her to stop fooling around and release him. She quieted him instantly, pressing a finger to his lips. She laid out her rules in a controlled whisper, no questioning her actions, no telling her to stop, and no ruining the mood. Otherwise, she warned, she would only make this harder for him. Hong's pulse hammered in his throat. The entire situation echoed a dream he had once had but never admitted to anyone. Normally, he would never allow himself to be dragged into something this reckless, but her presence, her confidence, and the closeness between them stripped away his resistance. His breathing had already grown unsteady. Saha traced the contours of his chest. She had always known he was strong beneath his suit, but the reality exceeded her assumptions. She pressed her palms against his muscles, savoring the contrast between her hands and his frame. He strained against the bindings, trying to break the momentum she was building. He warned her there were lines she shouldn't cross. If they were truly going forward, the drawn-out teasing was unnecessary. He wanted her to stop playing with him. Saha only smirked, brushing his head to the side with ease. She pinched his skin lightly, reminding him that resisting would only make her drag things out longer. Her hand drifted over his torso, following the shape of him, her touch slow and deliberate, testing how far she could push him. Hong choked on a half-formed sound, a mix of frustration and helpless tension. He worried she would leave marks he couldn't explain the next day. Saha leaned down, brushing her lips against the place she'd teased, then soothing it with her breath. She assured him whatever she did would be faint, easily hidden. The thrill of it all lit something inside her. Watching the normally composed, disciplined robot unravel beneath her felt intoxicating. She imagined how much further he would fall once the situation shifted completely. She reached up and began loosening the knot around his wrists. To her shock, he tore through the cloth effortlessly the moment the tension slackened. His wrists were suddenly free. He looked at the flimsy strip of fabric with a cold amusement, silently asking whether she truly believed something so thin could restrain a man like him. With one decisive move, he captured her wrists instead, winding the fabric around them with far more precision and strength. In seconds, she found her hands pulled together, held firmly in a grip that left no room for escape. Panic flickered through her. The power had shifted. She tried to speak, but he silenced her with a forceful, breath-stealing kiss. When he pulled back, he quietly repeated her own rules back to her. No questioning his actions, no telling him to stop, and no ruining the mood. And if she kept talking, there would be consequences. Saha's pulse spiked. She understood immediately. She had provoked something deep within him, something she was not entirely prepared to handle. She had awakened the part of him that refused to be toyed with. Hong flipped their positions easily, his body eclipsing hers. He hovered over her, overshadowing every attempt she made to retreat. She felt the bed dip under his weight, the space between them disappearing entirely. It was clear he intended to give her a taste of exactly what she'd put him through. He guided her legs apart, not for any explicit act, but to completely limit her ability to escape his presence. The movement pinned her in place, forcing her to meet the full intensity of his attention. She tried to protest, but before she could finish a single coherent thought, he lowered his head, close enough that she felt his breath against her skin, warm and unbearably intimate. The sensation overwhelmed her. Her mind spiraled, thoughts dissolving into static. Every inch of her focus tunneled toward him. She gasped, losing track of everything except the weight of his presence. He paused only to listen to her thoughts, his eyes narrowing with interest. He reminded her silently that she had been the one wishing for this moment every day. This closeness, this pressure, this intensity from him. Her thoughts slipped out uncontrollably. She admitted to herself how incredible it felt to be handled with such consuming focus, something she had never experienced with anyone before. Past partners had always fallen short of her expectations. None of them had ever made her lose her composure like this. Hong stilled for a moment, hearing her stray comparison. He questioned why she was thinking about other men at such a moment. She hurried to explain that it wasn't desire, only the realization of how unimpressive they were beside him. He didn't look satisfied. He lowered himself again, close enough to make her breath hitch. He murmured that if her mind kept drifting, then he would simply have to push her until she couldn't think about anyone but him. Hong, having asserted his dominance, was determined to keep Saha focused on nothing else. He looked down at her, a predatory glint in his eyes. He prepared the protection, tearing the packet with his teeth, his sculpted chest glistening. Saha's body reacted instantly, her breathing uneven, her heart racing as she waited. Hong commented on how ready she was, making her urge him to hurry now that the teasing had gone on long enough. He calmly told her not to rush. He would give her exactly what she wanted. As he pressed closer, he gasped, surprised by how tightly she reacted to him. The sensation overwhelmed Saha. She bit her lip, trembling, until Hong gently stopped her and kissed her instead. Their mouths met deeply, leaving her breathless. She gasped about how intense it felt, wondering if it was because it had been so long. The pleasure hit so hard that she instinctively tried to pull back. Hong noticed immediately and held her in place, questioning why she was hesitating now. He could tell how strongly she felt it and regretted not giving in sooner. As he began moving with purpose, Saha cried out, caught between shock and pleasure. Hong felt himself losing control, overwhelmed by the closeness, the warmth, and their shared breaths. Saha called his name, asking him to free her arms so she could hold on to him. Seeing the need in her eyes, he gently released the cloth. Relieved, she wrapped herself around him. He resumed his strong rhythm, asking if she liked it. She answered without hesitation. The depth and intensity were unlike anything she'd known, almost too much, leaving her shaken and wanting more all at once. With a final, powerful movement, Hong reached his limit. Saha shuddered, drained and breathless, left completely dazed by the aftermath. As she lay there catching her breath, A deep satisfaction settled in. Hong surprised her with gentle aftercare kisses, making her compare him to something refined and powerful she couldn't stop admiring. Suddenly, he shifted without warning, making her yelp and scold him for nearly knocking her head. Ignoring it, he reached for another protection, already prepared to continue. Saha panicked, reminding him this was supposed to happen only once. Hong laughed softly, saying she should have expected this after starting everything. Leaning in, he murmured that he planned to keep going a little longer. Saha, flustered and overwhelmed, begged him to explain what that meant, genuinely afraid she wouldn't survive the night. The next day, Saha dragged herself through the city streets. It was only Tuesday, and the thought of having 3 whole days left until the weekend felt like torture to her and her co-workers. They all bemoaned having to work again right after a long Monday. Suddenly, Saha straightened up, her exhaustion vanishing as she approached the office entrance. Her steps became energetic, and her face lit up with a sparkling smile. She cheerfully greeted her colleagues, announcing that just the thought of rolling up her sleeves and working hard was making her day. Her co-workers were astonished, noting how unusually energetic she looked and asking if something good had happened. Saha stopped, suddenly conscious of how her enthusiasm might look. The reality was that last night she had experienced a whole new world. They had been intimate relentlessly, like animals trying to blow off steam. In the end, her system had overloaded, and she had been the first to tap out, passing out cold from exhaustion. She woke up in Hong's bed, checking the time on her laptop in a panic. It was only 7:10 a.m., meaning she wasn't late. She complained internally that Hong could have woken her up before he left, calling him out for complaining about her bad bedroom manners when he was no better himself for sneaking out. However, she had to admit his physical form was undeniable. Her gaze fell on a pot simmering on the stove. She realized with surprise that he had found time to cook before he left. A note instructed her to eat before work and apologized for using the food in her fridge. Saha slurped the food, admitting it was good. Thanks to him, she had eaten a hearty breakfast and received next-level aftercare. It was no wonder she looked so energetic. Her co-workers continued to gossip, discussing a timeline of her morning. She had gotten more than 7 hours of quality rest, eaten a healthy breakfast, and relieved her sexual urges. They mused that it must be nice while they were starting their day with coffee. The conversation shifted to office news. A new employee with experience from a similar company, Ode Construction, would be joining their team that afternoon. The thought immediately triggered a painful memory for Saha, a thought she heard Hong's voice utter internally. She can't even clean up her own messes. This is so troublesome. The memory was quickly followed by another that involved a frustrated manager yelling at a former Ms. Beck Saha at Ode Construction for letting a contract fall through, leading to a huge loss. The internal monologue of a co-worker then noted that if they were her, they would be too ashamed to show their face. Saha was jolted. She realized the news of her past failure was already circulating. Hong walked in then, silencing the gossiping co-workers. He told them he was going to announce the new employees around lunchtime and instructed everyone to focus on their work until then. He then pulled Saha aside, asking to speak with her. When they were alone in an office area, he asked if she was all right, saying she looked pale earlier. Saha tried to play it off, saying she was just surprised that someone from her previous company was joining. Hong corrected her, saying he was asking about her physical condition, reminding her that she had fainted yesterday. Saha finally understood why he had cooked for her. She playfully retorted, asking if he was worried about her now, pointing out that he was the one who pushed her to that limit. He blushed, arguing that she was the one who provoked him first. She smiled sweetly, saying he shouldn't worry. Last night was amazing. She confirmed that she had fainted because the intimacy was simply too good. Hong's face flushed again, acknowledging her health was a relief, but gently correcting her that he was simply asking if she was sick. Saha laughed it off, assuring him she was fine and tougher than she looked. He suggested they get back to work. Saha felt disappointed, asking if that was it. She thought he was planning to pump and dump her. Hong heard the thought and laughed, asking if that was really her plan for him, calling her words trashy. He defended himself, reminding her that she was the one who said she only wanted his body. Saha conceded, agreeing that her words were getting twisted and that she was beginning to sound clingy. She clutched her hands, realizing that words couldn't describe how incredible the intimacy was, and how just remembering it was making her heat up again. Hong told her he would leave the room first, and that she should follow in a bit. He quickly covered his face with his hand as he walked past her, hearing her mind clearly. He warned her not to have perverted thoughts again. Saha pouted, admitting she couldn't help it. She pointed out that she was alone in a meeting room with the person she had been intimate with less than 10 hours ago, and the meeting room was the holy grail of office fantasy. Hong muffled his words with his hand, saying he could feel her lips moving against his palm. Saha took advantage of the moment, licking his palm. She then demanded honesty from him. He clearly liked it too. Otherwise, why would he keep going until she fainted? She pressed him further, saying that if she was right and he was open to it, why didn't they keep hooking up? Hong sighed, complaining that she spoke about such things so casually. He tried to speak about his principles, but Saha cut him off, accusing him of having a conservative mindset and questioning what century they were living in. She argued that he should give a casual arrangement a chance. Not every relationship needed to start out serious. It could begin casually and naturally develop into something meaningful. She pressed the issue, reminding him that even if her intentions started out impure, they could still become pure. Hong confirmed he was reading her mind. He reiterated that he wasn't interested in a purely physical relationship. He needed a solid reason to believe it could evolve into a proper relationship. Saha readily agreed to provide that reason. She mentally triggered a multiple-choice questionnaire for Hong. Q. Why do you like me, babe? Her own internal answers range from superficial reasons, being hot and having amazing bedroom chemistry, to financial motives, which she mentally labeled gold digger, and finally, an outright lie about liking his personality. She failed the internal test. Hong was shocked by her failure to articulate a genuine reason, telling her he was the one who should feel offended. He refused to continue their arrangement until she could give him a real answer. He ordered her to stand up. She asked if he would go out with her once she could give him a reason, but he insisted he needed to hear the answer first. They agreed to return to work, and Hong instructed her to go ahead and tell anyone they were discussing the training for the new hire. Saha, trying to maintain her composure, seized the opportunity to ask who the new hire was, mentioning they came from her previous company, Ode Construction. Hong smiled slightly, saying she would meet her soon enough. He revealed the name was Oh Jisoo. Saha's mind was immediately flooded with angry thoughts about Oh Jisoo, who she recognized as a source of immense stress, causing her gastritis and insomnia at their previous workplace. She realized Oh Jisoo was the person responsible for stressing her out so badly that she nearly lost her mind and had to leave the company. She determined that Oh Jisoo was a demon wearing human skin, and was shocked she would be joining her team, noting that Oh Jisoo was likely the one responsible for the rumor about her past work failure. Hong introduced the new employee, Oh Jisoo, to the team that afternoon. Oh Jisoo was charming and polite, claiming to want to settle in quickly to be helpful. Saha watched her, recognizing the sweet and harmless act. Hong announced that Saha would be the one training Oh Jisoo since they held the same position. Oh Jisoo immediately froze, clearly shocked that Saha, the person she had run out of the previous company, would now be her superior in training. Saha put on a bright smile, greeting Ms. Oh and stating that she would be training her. Oh Jisoo managed a shaky response. Saha's internal monologue raged. She wanted to make Ojisu suffer exactly as she had, noting that their positions were now completely reversed. However, rationality soon took over. She realized that trying to bully Ojisu would only lead to her getting penalized by HR. Given that she was already drowning in work and had barely pulled herself back together after her last job, she couldn't let the same person drag her into hell again. She decided she had to keep things professional. Saha told Ojisu that she was a professional adult and would only discuss work-related topics, demanding that Ojisu not speak to her unless it was about work. Ojisu flinched, clearly upset by the boundary. Saha sighed, admitting that while she wanted revenge, putting up boundaries was probably for the best. She hadn't completely moved on from the trauma Ojisu caused, often suffering nightmares. Staying strong and professional was her only path forward. Just then, Hong appeared, looking concerned. He noticed her pale complexion again and asked if she was all right. Later, Saha sat in the DK infirmary, sipping a warm drink, assuring Hong that she felt better. He had rushed her there after seeing her pale face and near-vomiting episode in the hallway. He told her she had scared him and offered her the rest of the day off if she was unwell. She apologized for feeling queasy, explaining it was just stress-induced heartburn and dry heaving, nothing serious. She looked at Hong with suspicion, wondering why he was acting so concerned now when he had clearly drawn a professional line between them that morning. She suspected he was giving her mixed signals, acting like a doting boyfriend, what people might call breadcrumbing. She asked internally if he was always a player. Hong, hearing her thoughts, objected, asking what was wrong with the division leader worrying about his subordinate. Saha assured him he didn't have to worry because she was used to this. She clarified that it was just stress-induced gastritis, and he already knew the cause. Ms. Oh Jisoo. She explained that she was sure he heard her thoughts about how Oh Jisoo had effectively run her out of Ode construction. Hong asked for the full story. Saha explained that the incident occurred the day Oh Jisoo went on an overseas business trip with the director. Saha had double-checked the documents that morning, but when Oh Jisoo reached the airport, she called to say she'd grabbed the wrong set and asked Saha to bring the correct ones. As Oh Jisoo was her senior, Saha felt compelled to go, rushing to the airport. However, something unforeseen delayed her on the way, and Oh Jisoo got on the plane before Saha could deliver the documents. Saha followed up by emailing whatever files she could, but the deal ultimately fell through. Hong commented that it wasn't her fault since Oh Jisoo was the one who grabbed the wrong documents. Saha agreed, saying she felt completely screwed over. She explained that Oh Jisoo then twisted the story to her advantage, played office politics to exclude Saha from meaningful work, and dumped petty tasks on her until her life was hell. Saha confessed she had tried to clear things up, but Oh Jisoo's manipulation turned everyone against her, eventually forcing her to quit. She apologized for dumping all that emotional baggage on him, acknowledging he couldn't fix the problem. Hong interrupted her, saying she should have just told them the whole truth. When Saha asked what he meant, he said she should have told them that the reason she was late was because she had stopped on the way to the airport to save an old lady's life. Saha was astonished, asking how he knew about that. She confessed she knew a video of the incident had been uploaded and called her a hero. Hong clarified he hadn't seen the video. He then described the handsome guy who was with her, a description that matched his own appearance. Saha was too hazy and shocked to recall anyone clearly. Hong sighed, saying she was probably too preoccupied to remember. He recounted that, the moment the elderly woman regained consciousness, Saha asked him to take care of her and ran off to the airport. Saha vaguely remembered rushing the woman into the ambulance but couldn't recall who was with her. Hong explained that telling her co-workers would have helped her case, especially since the initial mishap wasn't her fault. Saha countered that in their industry, where one contract is worth billions, people aren't always understanding. Hong then offered to assign someone else to train Oh-Ji-soo, concerned about the potential negative impact on Saha's productivity and health. He couldn't let his subordinate push herself to the point of getting sick. Saha was visibly touched, her heart racing. She joked that he sounded like a character straight out of a drama, but admitted she was genuinely moved by his thoughtfulness. He patted her shoulder, telling her to get more rest and that he would handle the rest. He stood to leave. Saha's mind was reeling as he walked away. She realized that Hong, who came off as cold and uncaring, was actually naturally thoughtful and genuinely kind. She realized she had misjudged him as a sales AI bot. He was awkward, but warm-hearted. Then Hong turned back and clarified his actions. He told her he wasn't acting this way toward everyone. He said clearly that he was acting like this because it was her, Ms. Beck. Saha's heart hammered wildly. She didn't think she was getting the wrong idea anymore. As Hong walked away, she stood up and called out his name, asking him directly, "Do you like me?" He finally confessed, saying that there was no way he would have been intimate with someone he didn't have feelings for. Saha was utterly shocked, gaping at him in disbelief. She immediately started questioning how long he had liked her and why. She jumped up, demanding to know why he kept turning her down if he liked her. Shouldn't he have immediately said yes when someone he liked asked him out? Hong quickly shushed her, covering her mouth and urging her not to get so worked up, or people would hear them. He whispered that he wanted to be sincere with her because he liked her. Saha, still frustrated, accused him of never having dated anyone before because of his overly cautious approach. She dismissed his methods, calling them old-fashioned, like exchanging diaries, and reminded him that many modern relationships start casually and grow over time. Hong's internal process flashed, an updating information sign on his metaphorical robotic self as he processed her modern dating philosophy. He insisted that his methods were his own choice. Saha watched him, finding his different expressions fascinating. The blushing from embarrassment and the pouting, all new emotions she hadn't seen before, beyond his usual frown or stern looks. She thought he was uptight and frustrating, which was still partly true, but she was enjoying peeling back his layers. She accepted his challenge. Since he wanted to know why she liked him, she would give him a chance to figure it out. But she insisted he had to give her a chance, too, to figure out what she liked about him. She suggested they start by going out for drinks, and Hong agreed immediately. He blushed slightly as he offered to wait for her in the parking lot after work this Friday and would make a reservation at a bar he knew. Saha jumped up in excitement. Hong, suddenly recalling her recent health scare, asked about her stomach. Saha assured him she was fine now, reminding him she wasn't made of glass. She pulled the door open, saying they needed to get back to work and avoid overtime if they were going on a date. Hong, standing in the doorway, watched her go, a small, shy smile touching his lips as he whispered, "A date," to himself. He observed that she was still as proactive as ever. That Friday, Saha sat in the bar Hong had chosen. The place felt niche, playing old records, and the bartender looked like a longtime regular. Saha was surprised to find such a hidden spot in an area full of office buildings. Hong arrived, having found parking nearby. Saha thought she would have expected him to choose a franchised bar or hotel lounge, given his tendency to leave company dinners quickly. Hong explained that he liked collecting records and found the music here good and quiet, so he came sometimes. Saha realized he wasn't antisocial, he just disliked noisy bars. The bartender offered Hong his usual, to which Hong requested the non-alcoholic version instead, explaining he was her date and had to take responsibility for getting her home. Saha teased him for being smooth, but he insisted that ensuring her safe return was a given. Saha was genuinely touched, realizing how thoughtful he was. She thought that no one goes out of their way to do that anymore. The more she got to know him, the more she liked him. She brought up the accident, asking if he had recognized her right away when she joined the company. Hong admitted he had recognized her the moment he saw her. Saha was surprised, as she had been dressed perfectly when she started work, unlike the mess she was during the accident. Hong, in his thoughts, revealed the depth of his feelings. He remembered her scent, the way her hair moved in the wind, and the sparkle in her eyes. He was taken with her the moment he laid eyes on her. He confessed the truth in his mind. She was his first love. We see a flashback of Hong. A younger Hong, looking concerned, was holding the hand of an elderly woman who seemed out of breath. She was his paternal grandmother, Jang Yoon-ok, who had raised him because his parents traveled often for work. She always gave him warm hugs and shared her wisdom. His grandmother assured him she was fine, saying she was just walking for her health, though she was so frail that she could barely walk even with him holding her hand. She mentioned looking forward to her 80th birthday celebration that year. Young agreed to stop the walk for the day. He recalled that back then, it took him a while to realize he had little time left with her. He felt sad, thinking he should have kept a closer eye on her. Suddenly, his grandmother collapsed, falling to the ground. Hong frantically called for help. That was when Saha appeared. She quickly took charge, telling Hong not to shake the patient and to lay her down carefully. She checked for breathing and immediately directed Hong to call emergency services, pointing out a student to massage the woman's legs. Hong thought about how she saved the most important person in his life and snapped him out of his daze. After his grandmother regained consciousness, Saha quickly left without hesitation before Hong could even say thank you. He realized his heart lingered there for so long because he couldn't forget her, and he had waited for the day they would meet again. The next scene shows Saha joining his company, introducing herself as Baek Saha. Hong confessed internally that he recognized her at first glance. Saha, back in the present at the bar, asked him why he didn't make his feelings more obvious, since he recognized her from day one. He joked if she wanted him to make it obvious now. Saha replied she hadn't meant that, but admitted she couldn't believe he liked her because he was so good at hiding it. She reminded him that he never talked to her unless it was about work, often rejecting her casual lunch and dinner invitations. Hong explained that flirting with her at work, as her boss, would have been considered sexual harassment. He added that it didn't seem like she wanted to get close to her co-workers at all, let alone date them. Saha conceded that she had her guard up when she first joined the company and was wary of her new colleagues, still coping with the trauma. Oh Jae-soo caused her at Ode Construction. Saha realized Hong had been looking out for her even back then, giving her space by ordering lunch for the team so she could eat alone at her desk. She wondered if he had been watching her all along, a thought that made her flush. Saha, feeling the effects of her non-alcoholic drink, fanned herself and suddenly asked if they should head back, noting he had drunk a lot. Hong pointed out she was the one whose face was getting red and suggested they leave, asking for the check. Saha was annoyed, mentally calling him oblivious for cutting their date short before 10 p.m., saying Cinderella stayed out longer than that. Once they were in the car, Hong apologized for ending the night so early. He confessed that he wasn't sure he could hold himself back if they stayed any longer. He saw her skin glistening, her lips flushed, and her eyes looking at him with heat. He knew if she kept staring at him like that, he would give in to her again. Saha seized the moment, asking if they could have just one more drink at his place.